Hello, this is Jen Hawes. I'm an assistant principal at Glenwood Elementary School in Virginia Beach, and I just wanted to share some ideas for parents at home trying to help their kids with that reading one-on-one. Just give you a little bit of background knowledge about how reading works and the processes involved. My background, I was a reading specialist for 12 years, and teaching kids to read has always been a passion of mine. So hopefully I can share some basics with you so you know how to best help your kid. Especially with those unknown words. From a practical standpoint, when it comes to reading, there are three processes that students use to help them actually figure out words. First and foremost are meaning clues. That the fancy teacher word is semantic cueing systems, but basically that's like a student's background knowledge. What do they already know about plants and they're reading a plant book? What are the pictures showing? They see a kid at the park and they know the words park and seesaw and slide and stuff. So all of those meaning clues come into play. We also know a lot about language structure or syntactic clues. That's really just an understanding of how language works and the way sentence structure works. So the kids played at the park instead of the kids play at the park, and just really understanding how language works. If I have a word describing something, I'm going to expect an adjective and not a verb. So understanding kind of the grammar behind language. And then third are like those actual phonics, the visual cues. This letter stands for this. These letters together represent that. So those three cueing systems help students actually understand. I think if you're like me, we're probably from the generation that we grew up with just sound it out. But really reading research doesn't support that idea. If you think of this word here, if I try to sound it out, I'm going to come out with, no matter how many times, eng, and I'm never going to get there. So like language is so much more complex than just the simple sound it out. So I want to share with you some specific cues that you can use with your child at home. They're intended to kind of be questions. So rather than you providing the answer, oh, the word is this, instead encourage your child by using these prompts or these questions for them to self-reflect and hopefully use these tools to do the job of reading. So the first one is simple, get your mouth ready. If I start off with, boy, I am really hungry for lunch is probably going to pop out. Will you read my book to me? So getting your mouth ready with that initial letter in the unknown word is the first stop. The second strategy that works really hand in hand with this one is looking at the picture clues. And that's why kids have these little picture books that have so many picture cues on the page, and parents will be like, I don't think they're reading it. They're just looking at the pictures. Well, that's semantic cues, and that's where we start. So if I look at this picture and I say, oh, Dad is helping to fly, my kite is going to come out because that is the cue that I have here. You can tie it in. I'll probably see that letter K, and you use tool 1 and 2 together. The next tool is really, I think, the tool that I fall back on more than any other one when I'm working one-on-one with a kid, and it's just this cue of, does it look right? And if I have a student and they're reading, we will have soup for dinner is what the student reads, but this is the actual text. I would look at this word and say, does that word actually look like soup? If you look, does it look right all the way through? And it's kind of encouraging kids. They get to a point that we're beyond guessing based on the initial letter, that beginning sound that gets your mouth ready. We got to look at the entire word. So when your child's reading aloud to you and they make a mistake, and it still starts with that same first letter, encourage them, hey, does that look right? Look all the way through the word. The next cueing strategy is really just asking that semantic cue of, hey, does that make sense? If they read, the dog is car the stick, does that make sense? Or is that the way we would speak? Does that sound right? So the dog is carrying the stick makes a lot more sense. You just cueing, hey, does that make sense? I think some kids, I am always surprised, will sit and read with me and they'll get to a word they don't know and they'll even make up like a nonsense word, like a jumble. And I'm like, no, reading can't ever be a jumble. It always needs to make sense. If they've tried those other cues, the next step I really think is I want to change your thinking. Instead of saying sound it out, I want to encourage you to look for chunks or chunk it out. If we come back to that original idea of ed, I'm not going to sound it out. But if I chunk it out, our language is based on a lot of phonetic letters working together. So if I come with sh, out, ed, it's going to make a lot more sense. So really consider chunking it out. The next cue, if we tried all those other things, is to really think of, hey, does it sound right? And that's really kind of using that syntactic, that grammar. My grandpa helped me make a cake doesn't sound grammatically correct. My grandpa helps me make a cake. I'd also use that clue right now of, hey, does that look right to be help? Does it look right? Really kind of call your child's attention to that. And if you tried all those other things, the last cueing system is just simply to read, skip, and reread. I need my blank because it's cold. Oh, I need my jacket because it's cold. So I get some meaning also in the end of the sentence. Notice this is not read, skip, keep going, never come back. You're going to have to go back and figure out that unknown word. My hope is through this video, you kind of learned a little bit about the processes involved in figuring out words, those 3 cueing systems. This toolbox I will put in the resource drive so you can kind of print it out or refer back to it. But if you notice, using these prompts with a student is going to help them figure out the word rather than you just providing that answer. Hope we can change everybody from sound it out to chunk it out. Thanks for listening.